So I was a teacher for a number of years, and I never quite fully understood the impact that we could have on others, but it had nothing to do with my classroom. What's up, guys? Corey Beth here, and I want to talk about the types of people that you are going to influence and have an impact on, and it's not who you think. So, oftentimes, when I get on the phone with women, we will get deep on into really what's going on with them, whether it's bad habits, maybe they're struggling with a diagnosis from the doctor, whether it be like pre-diabetes or hypertension or you name it, right? And the biggest fear that so many of us have is that we're going to pass these things on to our children. Now, that is absolutely true. In fact, when we start digging deep into a lot of people's pain, we realize and recognize that a lot of the struggles that we have as adults, our parents struggled with. In fact, I struggled with my weight for a number of years doing the grapefruit diet, the Montefiore Hospital diet, the hot dog diet. I did it all. And I really do mean that. Have you seen pictures of me? I showed my kids those pictures this morning and they were like, Mom, who is that? I was like, that's your mom. They're like, that's not you, you know? And I watched my mom struggle with jazzercise and SnackWells. Now my mom is down 30 pounds. She for her went gluten-free and it made a big difference. And I had my own journey where thank God I met Mike, right? And I was able to figure things out differently than she was able to figure things out. But when I was that teacher in that school district, here's what I started to notice. When I started teaching, I would come in with my iced caramel macchiatos with extra caramel. And yes, that was my exact order. I could not rebutton my dress pants by the end of the day because I was literally so bloated and I was constantly running to the bathroom, not realizing at that point in my life that I actually had irritable bowel syndrome. That's IBS for sure. So that said, what I started to notice as I began to adopt healthier habits, I started to bring in grilled chicken and cottage cheese. I started making my own salads. All of a sudden, my assistant started bringing in healthier stuff. And I thought, oh, maybe that's kind of like strange, or maybe it has to do with me, but I'm not going to take credit for that. Maybe that's just how my assistant wants to eat. But then all of a sudden, I started noticing that the teacher across the hall from me, Kim, started eating a little bit differently. And then the art teacher, she asked me how I was eating and what I was eating. And then Joanne, who worked down in the reading center, started asking questions about what I was eating and why. And then the superintendent of my school district started asking me if I could make meals for her. Now, the secret of life is that people influence people. Now, the good thing about that is we can influence people in a positive way. On the other hand, we can also influence them in a negative way. Now, for years in corporate settings, in boardrooms, or teacher conference rooms, we would have donuts, pretzels, leftover snacks. For me, when I was teaching in the beginning, it was peanut M&Ms, and we kept them in the fridge because they were especially delicious that way. And when the bag was gone by the end of the day, I was like, I don't know where it went. True story. But the opposite happened when I started to change my eating habits, right? I think that when we walk into a situation where A, we're not clear on our own goals, or B, we don't have a plan for our own goals, it's very easy to adopt the habits of those around you. And so for me, it was coffee cake, it was Dunkin' Donuts, it was Munchkins all the time with those peanut M&Ms. And that really became my diet. I mean, coffee turned from light and sweet to those extra caramel macchiatos, and they were delicious, but it's because I started to do what everyone around me was doing. Now, the interesting thing is when one person starts to change their habits in a different way, that impact is also felt. And it's not immediate. It doesn't happen all at once. The whole school doesn't go, yeah, we're going to eat salads and steamed broccoli. That's ridiculous. But that ripple effect does begin to happen when you stay true to your goals. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because many of you will embark on your goals and say, okay, like I'll have to tell my friends, no drinks or no pizza, or I'll have to tell my family, no dessert, no ice cream. But that kind of gets hard after a little while, like we do it for a couple of days and then we're right back on the old wagon that we started on. Now, when we commit because we have a strong why, we have a strong reason, or maybe we have a date. I had all of those actually when I started my healthy eating. It was getting on a bodybuilding stage. I had a strong reason. I did not want to be embarrassed on that stage. I had a date. I knew exactly when the competition was going to be, and I had a plan. I knew exactly what I was supposed to eat every single day, and there was no wavering from it. I had to do it. And I think when we become that committed to our goals, it enables us to actually stick with it long beyond inspiration or motivation, because all of that, it waxes and wanes. You agree with that? So I was in this teaching job. I was like training for my bodybuilding competition. I was bringing in all these healthy meals. People started to notice. They noticed what I was eating. They noticed that I was not hanging out in the faculty lounge, snacking on the crumb cake that was in there every day. They noticed that I started to look different. And lo and behold, people started to behave differently, act differently, eat differently, and bring different meals in. In fact, I noticed that the impact that those small choices had for me had a tremendous impact when people started not going out as much for lunches. Did people still go out for lunch? Absolutely, right? It's not my job to change the whole world, but I look at how that little change, Mike changed me. I changed my assistant, who changed the woman across the hall, who changed the art teacher, who changed the reading teacher. And all of a sudden they have their circles of influence, and that starts to change too. So my message to you is this. It's easy to think about the immediate, right? We think about our kids, and yes, it is true. Your kids are going to do what you do because there is that nature nurture argument. They see what you do. They see how you eat. They eat how you eat. They're your kids, right? And so they're going to oftentimes have the same habits you do. But sometimes that's not strong enough of a reason to change our habits. Sometimes it is because it's very painful because you know the childhood you had or the way that you feel in your body right now. But I want to encourage you that when it comes to those around us, our circle of influence, our community, our coworkers, our colleagues, the PTA moms, our neighbors, our church people, right? You have your people. And when you stay committed to your goals, those people will take notice. Those people will be influenced and they will be impacted. And if they have a strong enough reason, they will change their habits too. So I don't want you to walk into changes that you're making right now thinking like, oh, people are not going to do this. I'm not going to be accepted. I'm not going to be invited out. When you hold fast and strong to your convictions, those around you will take notice and you will see their behaviors change too. All right. That's my encouragement for today. We'll be back on here tomorrow between 1:30 and 2 p.m. Eastern. Have an outstanding day and go be that change that you want to see in your circle of influence. Have an awesome one, guys.